anti-spin is when the hoop is going in a different direction than my shoulder circle. So my shoulder circle will be going in this direction and or this direction, while the hoop is going in the opposite direction. So if my hoop is going this way, then my shoulder will be going the other way, and that is the definition of an anti-spin. So the hoop and the shoulder circle are going in two opposite directions. Sacred geometry has always been a path for me, and I always knew that there was some sort of application that could happen with poi at first and now with the hoop, that sacred geometry was very important with the motion in terms of creating this stuff around our auric field and making these perpetual motions for audience members to see with their eyeballs and for us to feel inside of our bodies as well. Anti-spin is an amazing technology. It basically has like a weightless feeling. So when you're doing anti-spin, it feels very weightless as you're doing it. So as we start to, we'll basically have our hoop going in a regular pulsing motion here on our hand, and then we'll push the hoop over and we'll have one rotation onto the side. And then we'll bring it up, and then it comes right back down, and we'll have one rotation out to the side again. So for a 3-pedaled anti-spin, there's actually only 2 rotations with an up-down beat at the top. 1 rotation, up, down, 2 rotation. 1 rotation, up, down, 2 rotation. 1 rotation, 2 rotation, up, down. Your hand starts to trace a triangle, and your hand is moving in a triangle, finding these points. So if you notice my hand, it's moving up and down and over in a triangle, while the hoop is rotating or moving up and down in either one of those points. So one point of the triangle, up, down, another point of the triangle. So try not to give it an extra rotation at the top to bring it back down, but just one rotation, up, down, 2 rotation. So there's 2 full rotations with the hoop going on here, and I'm pushing the hoop to one side while my arm is going in an opposite direction. So this is a 3-pedaled anti-spin flower with 2 full hoop rotations. Some of the troubleshooting spots will look like this. Your hand and your hoop will be going in the same direction. So if it starts to look like this, and you don't feel that weightlessness motion of this motion, then go back to it. So again, this is the non-anti-spin, shoulder and hoop going in the same direction. And this is the anti-spin, shoulder and hoop going in opposite directions.
Do you love hooping?
I would say at this point I love hooping. Yes, hooping has definitely become something that I do. I travel with my hoops everywhere I go, whether they're mini ones or the Synergy fire hoop collapsibles, or any sort of any chance I get, I'm traveling with hoops as one of my main mojos. We all have a little bit different geometry or different classical movements that we want to go towards. I always go towards a 3-petaled flower or anything with 3s because it resonates with me. I really like Sacred Trinity. A lot of people go with something that's 6 or something that's with 4. So you really start to find your own internal pathway, and this has been my pathway towards it, is really finding the energies of basically universal energies and universal movements, and applying them to myself. And when I mean universal movements, I mean the way our universe moves, not just universal movements, but literally having centered points where everything's moving around our shoulders as we're moving around, and that representing the sun, and then we have all these other orbits representing different planets going retrograde, or anti-spin is the same thing as retrograde. And so we're really finding that these larger extended motions are, something, we call that like a Pluto, and then we can call these smaller orbital motions something like Mercury, a little closer planet. So depending on where you want to dive down that rabbit hole, it's endless possibilities to align with universal principles, to align with sacred orbits around our body, around our heart, and really align with the deeper sense of ourselves. And this is what really inspires me with hooping and poi and sacred geometry, is that this synergistic sort of motion of them all culminating for me to experience a state of bliss or joy inside of my hoop that wouldn't necessarily be there without each of these alignments, without the geometry, without the fact that it's a hoop, without these fundamental movements. Nothing quite works out to bring me as much joy until they all come in together, and then trance state, I can find, that really wonderful place inside of my heart, inside of my dance, inside of this movement. And that's why sacred geometry and hooping is important to me. And again, we're coming here at the Lotus Temple at Ubud, Bali, and we're here with Sacred Circularities and Synergy Fire Hoops. Wishing you a wonderful time wherever you are, and please enjoy. Yeah, hooping has definitely become a way of life for me, and I would call myself a hooper. I think it was about 1.5 years ago that I made that Facebook update, actually. I officially called myself a hooper, or I kind of avoided it a little bit.
Yay!
But yeah, so I definitely love hooping.